Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are well. Today is the 4th of March, and it is Wednesday. Hopefully, all you guys are having a wonderful week so far. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated as we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. And if you're on Substack, please consider subscribing as well. It's $8 a month, and all funds go to me. Helps me pay for the things that I need to pay for in my life, like my groceries, clothing, bills, and all of those kinds of things. Outside of that, though, hopefully all you guys are doing amazing. And let's get right into today's episode. Moving on into our headlines and history, as we do, the headline we have for today, it comes from March 4th of 1949, and is titled Oslo Accepts Bid to Atlantic Talks. Norway was invited to join talks on forming what is now the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, an intergovernmental military alliance committed to providing mutual defense. NATO was officially formed later that year with 12 member nations. It now has 30. Neither Russia nor Ukraine is a current member, and before Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, it demanded that Ukraine never be allowed to join NATO, refuse the condition. This, of course, is about the history of NATO, which is definitely a very important topic these days, especially with the Trump administration. And their pushes to back out of NATO, which is not a smart thing at all, especially for the United States' overall dominance around the world, and global influence. Us, backing out of NATO would not be a very smart thing, right? Um, Unfortunately, relations are being soured quite a bit under this administration with Europe and the rest of NATO. It's a massive issue, but hopefully, we can stop the man from leaving NATO entirely, because that would not be very good for American interests, especially abroad. Anyways, let's move into the Trump administration from today. We have something really interesting to start with, as the United States has begun military operations in Ecuador, the next country in a long list of them. U.S. Southern Command has announced that the military has begun joint operations in Ecuador aimed at combating design terrorist organizations involved in drug trafficking. Once again, another expansion of military activity under the Trump administration. They aim to target the Los Lobos and Los Chinchorros cartels, and aim to disrupt illegal mining practices and illegal drug trafficking within the country of Ecuador. This, of course, is great news and all, but it would be nice if we worried about the problems at home before we worried about the problems in other countries. Sure, cartels are a big issue. They're a big issue around the world, especially in Latin America. But let's look at the issues here. Gas prices through the roof. Americans are living paycheck to paycheck and can barely afford necessities like groceries, rent, and all of the other things in our lives at this point. And on top of that, Americans can't find jobs as well, which is a massive issue. I mean, I can go on and on as well. Are drugs a problem? Yes, 100%, absolutely. But there are a lot of problems that we have here that are bigger than drug problems. And going after groups in other countries, unfortunately, it's not going to solve those issues. It's really not. Sure, it benefits other countries. It's a great thing to get rid of the cartels that are horrendously doing things in South America, in Latin America as a whole. It's a great thing. It really is. But we have a plethora of issues at home, and we really need to focus on our own people before we focus on other countries. In other news, Pete Hegseth is calling out the media for reporting on the deaths of troops in this war in Iran. Pete Hegseth is bashing media for talking about the deaths of troops who put down their lives for our country because it makes Trump look bad. Hegseth said to reporters at the Pentagon, "This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace, waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate, but when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report on the reality." It's kind of sad that they think everything revolves around Trump. Let's take a step back here and realize that the American people have a lot of support for the military and those who go out there and fight for this country, unlike our government. And they want to hear if troops are being killed, who those troops are, and how they can support the families of those troops. That's something pretty common in this country, right? It's not about making Trump look bad. It's about having sympathy for the people who are willing to fight and die for our country, which is a big deal and takes an immense amount of courage. I mean, not everything is about Trump. And the fact that Hedgeseth is willing to suggest that people caring about this is about Trump is just sad. And it's sad on so many different levels because not everything evolves around the man. Sure, he's the president. Sure, he's a terrible man. And sure, he causes a plethora of issues. And sure, he is a big issue as to why we are in this conflict today. But not everything revolves around him. Sometimes Americans just want to show support to the people who have laid down their lives for this country. Anyways, let's move on into the topic on the war with Iran, where we have one topic here today talking about the senators who had their briefing recently and are now sounding the alarm. Following the briefing ahead of the War Powers Resolution to vote on if the war on Iran should be possible, a large number of lawmakers have come out worried that we will be putting boots on the ground. Senator Richard Blumenthal said, "I just want to say that I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground." And in a post online, Senator Elizabeth Warren said, "I just left a classified briefing on Iran, and here's what I can say. It's so much worse than you thought. You are right to be worried." Like I've said, we're in this one for the long haul. Will there be a draft? No, that is impossible in this country. It's not going to happen. People would not let it happen. Gen Z would not let it happen. We learned our lesson with Vietnam and all of those other conflicts, right? But I think it's very likely that with the amount of assets that we have over in the Middle East right now, we are going to see active service members being deployed to the Middle East, which isn't a good thing. It's not. No conflict is a good thing. It's going to lead to the deaths of people. I mean, it is. That's just plain and simple. There's nothing changing that. It is going to lead to the deaths of people, which is extremely unfortunate. Good luck to all of our troops. Don't do anything illegal. Don't forget your rights. Don't forget that you have the ability to stand up for yourself. And with that being said, let's move on into the other news segments. Anyways, in other news, James Talrico has won the Texas Democratic primary. I wanted to say Texas. That's not a word. Texas State Representative James Talrico of Austin has defeated Jasmine Crockett for the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate in Texas, becoming big news in Texas as Texas hasn't elected a Democratic statewide candidate since 1994. And Talrico has an opportunity to win due to his Christian values and policies appealing a lot to the average Texas voter. I believe I saw Talrico got around 2 million votes in total, maybe around there. I think this is a great decision for Texas to make as a whole. Crockett is great when it comes to getting her point across and being loud. But outside of that, she takes APAC money. She's really an establishment Democrat. And I don't believe she's also called for the abolishment of ICE. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't believe she's done that. We need to limit the amount of lawmakers we have in this country who actively aren't, seeking to better the American experience and the American lifestyle. And any politician who is taking money from Israel is not going to do that, right? Any lawmaker who isn't going to put America first should not be in office. And I guarantee you, majority of the lawmakers that you ask who are actively taking money from APAC are not going to say that America is first, right? I mean, you can go see the videos all the time. People ask lawmakers who take money from APAC if they're America first. And a lot of them just decline to answer entirely. We need lawmakers who are going to put our country first in office. And we shouldn't be putting people who are going to put other countries before our country, because at the end of the day, they're US lawmakers. They're representing United States citizens. They're representing the people living here. It is in our best interest to act for the people living here before we act for the people living in other countries. In other news, Republicans have voted to subpoena Pam Bondi. The House committee investigating the Epstein files have voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi into testifying on the Department of Justice's handling of the Epstein files. The motion offered by Nancy Mace, was supported by all Democrats and 5 Republicans. The Department of Justice is yet to make any comments on this one, but Representative Lauren Boebert, Scott Berry, Tim Burchett, and Michael Cloud all joined Nancy Mace in voting with Democrats for this to pass. This, of course, is great news because the Department of Justice's handling of releasing these files has been horrid. And in all honesty, that's a massive understatement. The files were supposed to be released in full in December of last year. We're now in March of this year. And, instead of that, they're still holding them and refusing to put out the rest of the files. It's not okay, and they need to be removed from their job as soon as possible because anyone who isn't going to comply with the law should not be allowed to work for the US government. Also, how many people are we going to subpoena before we finally subpoena Trump? I mean, we've done Hillary Clinton, we've done Bill Clinton, we've done people in the administration, we've done all of these people, right? How many people is it going to take until we do Trump? He's all over the files. We all know this. Like, come on, can we lock in, guys? Can we lock in? With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. It has definitely been a very interesting day in the news world, that is for sure. If you're new here, though, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated as we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. And if you're on Substack, please consider subscribing as well. It's $8 a month, and all funds go to me. Helps me pay for the things I need to pay for in my life, like my groceries, my clothing, and all those kinds of things. I want to give a huge thank you to our paid subscribers in Sean Zone and Nan. Thank you for being a paid subscriber. It truly does mean the world to me, and all of you guys. Continue to support my work and continue to, drop donations and all of that. So thank you for all of that. Out on the job search right now, we're trying to find a job because we're not making much money on here. TikTok is kind of becoming a very not great platform as we speak. But the news recap isn't going anywhere. I'm going to try and still do it as much as possible. But we're out on the job search, and I will keep you guys updated on that one. With that being said, thank you everyone for watching today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in tomorrow's.